Despite the name, expect to shed a lot of tears in this anime, and I mean a lot of tears. Out of all my experiences watching anime, I'd say this one takes its time to really tap into each of the characters' story a bit. That way, you'd feel like you're part of the class's adventure and growth the whole way. Welcome to Class 3E, the N class? Well, that doesn't sound very fun. In an elite school called Kunugikakoga
Failure.
Junior High, where all the students are almost guaranteed to be successful, there was a small classroom up on a mountain, filled with snakes, bees, and rivers. This classroom was known as Class E, or the N class, filled with students who failed to keep up their grades or those who'd broken school regulations. Usually, the students in Class E led an uneventful and hopeless time in the class. But when the third year of school had started, Class E was met with an unexpected task: to assassinate their new teacher? Now, you must be thinking that's absolutely crazy. What type of psychopaths are these kids? But this was no ordinary teacher. Far from it, in fact.
Nice to meet you. I'm the one who disintegrated part of the moon. And next year at this time, I'm going to do the same thing to your planet Earth. Also,
I'm your new teacher, and I hope we get along well. If you heard your new alien teacher say such words, what would you do? Run? Call the police? Hide under a desk? Now, what if you were offered $10 billion in cash for killing him? Certainly that would change your mind a little bit. It certainly changed the minds of the students from Class E. Accepting the task, each student finds a different way to assassinate the weird alien teacher, all while the teacher deflects all of their attacks and tutors them in the process. The student claims that she could actually understand the lesson after being tutored and aced the test. Even still, Class E doesn't seem motivated to try to improve academically, claiming, "We're still Class E, so what's the point of working hard for nothing?" Nagisa, our main protagonist of the story, has teamed up with students Terasaka, Yoshida, and Muramatsu in a plan to assassinate the teacher. Nagisa is a skilled note-taker and is great to come to whenever you need information on the alien teacher. Acting supernatural and calm, Nagisa makes his way up to the alien teacher to give him his poem. He's hidden a knife between a strip of paper and used it to stab the alien teacher, but the alien teacher easily blocks the attack and informs Nagisa that he needs to come up with a better plan. This is when Nagisa takes the opportunity to wrap the alien teacher in a hug, revealing a BB grenade hanging from a string on his neck. Nagisa smiles as Terasaka presses the button to activate the grenade. This leads to thousands of BBs being exploded everywhere and the two in the wildfire being thrown back. Terasaka and his goons exclaim in joy at their success, but Kade, one of Nagisa's closest friends, asks what they'd done and yell at them for hurting Nagisa. Terasaka brushes it off, claiming he had just paid for Nagisa's medical bills when he gets the money, but as they go to check the damage, they see Nagisa is perfectly fine. We come to learn that the alien teacher can shed once every month or so. He'd covered the bomb and Nagisa to make sure everyone was safe. But the alien teacher was very, very furious. His face was no longer the smiling, happy face we've come to know, but was pitch black. At his Mach 20 speed, he goes and gets every student's nameplate. He explains to the students that while he promised the government not to hurt them, he could certainly hurt their families and friends easily. He warns them that if they are to ever try to assassinate him in this way again, he would not hesitate to destroy the rest of the world. Terasaka, with tears in his eyes, yells at the alien teacher that he's nasty and evil, so why shouldn't they use nasty methods? The alien teacher's face changes once more into an orange shade with a red circle, usually used when he's telling a student that they're correct. He lets Terasaka know that their plan was wonderful and brilliant. He also compliments Nagisa on his calm and natural acting. He then faces the rest of the students, his face now purple with an X. He scolds both Nagisa and students for not taking Nagisa's safety into measure. He tells them to assassinate him in a way that brings a smile onto their faces. After the scolding and praising, the students have a newfound drive to kill their teacher in a way that they'd want to. Kaide also gives the alien teacher a name, playing on the words Koro Sensei, Koro, can't be killed, and Sensei, teacher, forming the alien teacher's name, Koro Sensei. It's a new day and a beautiful morning, filled with new assassination attempts. Nagisa teams up with his classmate Shugino, a former baseball player, giving him notes and intel on Koro Sensei to better his attempt. He put BBs all around a baseball to throw at Koro Sensei, who was lounging in a beach chair and reading a newspaper. Just as we think the assassination would be successful, Koro Sensei appears behind the two saying good morning. He explains to the shocked students that the baseball was moving rather slow, and he had time to go to the storage room and retrieve a mitt. Nagisa and Sugino return to homeroom, Sugino seeming rather depressed after the failed attempt. Sugino sits outside after class, heaving a sigh of giving up. That's when Koro Sensei appears, returning his BB baseball to him. He's also carrying a coconut from Hawaii, which he retrieved using his Mach 20 speed, eating it as if it were an apple. He sits next to Sugino and compliments him on the pitch when trying to assassinate him. Sugino isn't convinced, though. Koro Sensei goes to ask if Sugino had ever played the sport before. This is when we learn that Sugino was on the baseball team when he wasn't a part of Class E, but that Class E students weren't allowed to participate in any extracurricular activities. He explains that they were expected to focus only on their studies since they were in Class E because of their bad grades. When Koro Sensei asked if he thought it was unfair, Sugino said he no longer cares. He starts telling Koro Sensei everything wrong with his playing. Koro Sensei offers Sugino some advice. At the time, Nagina is searching for Koro Sensei to turn in an assignment. That's when he walks in on Koro Sensei twisting Sugino around in his tentacles. Nagisa reminds Koro Sensei of his promise to bring no harm to students, though he's completely ignored as Koro Sensei continues his conversation with Sugino. He asks Sugino if he'd modeled his pitch after Arita, a baseball pitcher. He lets Sugino down, explaining that his tentacles know and see all. He tells Sugino his shoulders aren't as defined as Arita's and he'll never be able to throw a fastball like he does. Nagisa frowns at him and asks him how he's so sure about that. That's when Koro Sensei reveals a newspaper. Labeled on the top was Tentacles Attack. It shows Arita wrapped in Koro Sensei's tentacles coming up from the ground. The students looked at him in shock and disbelief. He then shows them an autograph he got him to sign, reading, "Damn you, tentacles!" Arita. Sugino looks down, disappointed and giving up on his baseball dreams. Koro Sensei goes on to explain how flexible his elbows and wrists are. He encourages Sugino to learn how to use those to his advantage, and he'll be even better than Arita. He shares these wise words with Sugino.
There isn't just one way to have talent. You just need to find a method that suits your skill set.
This gives Sugino new hope and drives him to become better, using his skills and talent. Koro Sensei then leaves, but Nagisa questions why he went to such extents just to help Sugino out. He explains that he is their teacher, and his goal in life is to guide them and help them through their struggles. Nagisa smiles and thinks about how Koro Sensei always seems to motivate them. It's now snack time on the Class E mountain. Koro Sensei is seen making some delicious snow cones with ice he got from the North Pole. The students run up to him with smiles and asking for a snow cone. Koro Sensei cries tears of joy at the thought of his students finally warming up to him, but the students quickly pull knives from the pockets on their legs. Once again, the weapons were harmless to the students, but could harm Koro Sensei. He dodges the onslaught of attacks and explains to the students that their smiles were too fake and unconvincing. He then drops all their knives, having stolen them at Mach 20 with the cloth he used to wipe his tears before. He tells them to put down the knives and instead enjoy the flowers, handing each student a tulip. One of the students, Meg Katalka, recognizes the flowers as the one they'd been growing for weeks. He quickly apologizes and gets new bulbs. The girls in the class start scolding him and instructing him how to plant the flowers, saying he can't use Mach 20 speed to do it. The boys stare in disbelief, wondering if the teacher actually wanted to destroy the world. Kade goes to Nagisa, who was taking notes. This is where we learn the first of Koro-sensei's many weaknesses.
Koro-sensei's weakness number 1.
He messes up when showing off. If you're sitting next to a fangirl or boy, I recommend covering your ears for this part, because here comes one of the most loved characters.
Karasuma-sensei!
Karasuma-sensei. Karasuma-sensei is someone we've seen before. We saw him previously introducing Koro-sensei to the students and was now applying to be the PE teacher for Class 3E. After informing the principal of this, Karasuma experiences firsthand how the school works. Using Class E as the disappointing class no one wants to end up in, making the students work and study harder. He then walks up the mountain to Class E to see all the students playing piñata with Koro-sensei. It was his form of apologizing for pulling their tulips, but even still, he dodged their attacks while being tied to a tree and dangling. He starts bragging on how cool he is, and just as Nagisa's notes proclaim, the tree branch snaps and he lies flat on the floor, silently. Everyone sorta just stares in shock for a moment, but that shock leaves as they lunge to attack the tied-up Koro-sensei. He screams and dodges them with more difficulty as he tries to untangle from the ropes, clumsily, revealing another weakness.
Koro-sensei weakness number 2.
Panics easily. Eventually he escapes and flies onto the roof. Once again he yells at them cockily after catching his breath, telling them that he was going to double their homework for that. This reveals yet another weakness.
Koro-sensei's weakness number 3.
Sore loser. The guy's just a sore loser. Koro-sensei flies away, and the students all smile happily. They praise themselves for that being the closest attempt yet. This is when Karasuma realizes that even though the school has this weird system, Class 3E seemed to be the most optimistic out of the school. As the chapter and episode comes to an end, we see the office of the government. We're introduced to a student who had been suspended at the time. He's given his instructions and assignment about Koro-sensei. A nasty smile fills his face, and he claims that he's been itching to kill a teacher for a while now. Chapter 4-6, Episode 3. The episode starts off with Karasuma teaching PE and helping the students learn some key assets to assassinating. He claims that once they beat him in PE, they'll surely be able to assassinate Koro-sensei. He dismisses them. They walk back to the classroom, chattering about how cool Karasuma-sensei is. This makes Koro-sensei jealous, and he accuses Karasuma of wanting to steal the students' love. Karasuma explains that this is no joke to him, and his only job is to oversee the assassins until they assassinate him. Koro-sensei informs Karasuma of his name, tired of being addressed as him or you when Karasuma talks about him. We then follow the students again as they chat. Nagisa notices someone standing in front of the classroom. Once again, we advise you to cover your ears. 'Cause here comes the one, the only, Karma Akabe.
That's my boy! Yeah!
Jesus Christ, why am I doing this? Nagisa and Karma exchange a few pleasantries, seemingly already knowing each other. He walks up to Koro-sensei, who scolds him for being super late on his first day. Karma apologizes sweetly, claiming he got too used to sleeping in. He holds out his hand for a handshake, saying it was nice to meet Koro-sensei. But just as Koro-sensei goes to shake his hand, Karma tightens his grip and Koro-sensei's arm squishes, disintegrating with a wicked smile. Karma slips another wrist from his sleeve and goes to attack. But this time Koro-sensei is able to dodge. Karma looks down at the piece of the Koro-sensei knife he taped to his hand, awing at how even the tiniest of slivers could bring Koro-sensei harm. He then mocks Koro-sensei for falling for such an old trick in the book, also calling him chicken for running away at his second attack. This makes Koro-sensei angry. But there was nothing he could do, as he couldn't harm any of the students. Kade asked Nagisa how he knew Karma. It's then revealed that they used to be in the same class their first and second year. Since he was suspended constantly for fighting, he was finally put into Class 3E. Back in the classroom, Koro-sensei punches the wall, or rather taps it weakly, revealing yet another weakness.
Koro-sensei's weakness, number 4.
Weak punches. Weak punches. What do you expect? He's a octopus spaghetti man. He was bitter that karma got the best of him and only snapped out of it after being yelled at to start class. He's about to do so when he silences Karma and Terasaka's bickering. He then notices Karma is holding an ice cream in his hand. Let me just interject real quick. I have a note here from my writer and it reads, "Not to be read aloud, but just know your writer is fangirling hard right now." Thank you for everything you do. You're awesome, and I really appreciate you being part of the team. Now back to the thing. Not just any ice cream, but the gelato Koro-sensei bought from Italy yesterday. Koro-sensei yells at Karma for stealing his hard-earned gelato, and Karma asks what he's going to do about it. This angers Koro-sensei, but he remains calm, claiming he'll just eat what's left. As he walks to get the gelato from Karma, his tentacles start to disintegrate. That's when he noticed Karma had placed a bunch of BBs on the floor for Koro-sensei to step on. Karma pulls out a gun with a wicked smile and shoots, but once again, Koro-sensei dodges the second attack. Karma goes to say he doesn't care if he disrupts the class, if Koro-sensei kills his parents, or whoever. He informs Koro-sensei that if he does any of those things, he wouldn't be considered a teacher anymore, but a monster. As he puts the ice cream onto Koro-sensei's suit, he informs him that he's been waiting to kill a teacher. Mood quickly changing, he throws his test at Koro-sensei and leaves, knowing he's aced the test already. Later, Karma helps Nagisa in the train station from bullies from the main school building. He then asks Nagisa to give him some notes on Koro-sensei so that they could find new ways to anger the teacher and assassinate him. He starts to get excited, having a new idea, and smiles wickedly as a train passes by, saying he'll finally get his paycheck. We soon find out about Karma's plan to get raw octopus and put a Koro-sensei knife through it, an octopus being Koro-sensei's trademark. The students of the class stare on in disgust and discomfort as Koro-sensei enters the class. He tells Koro-sensei to bring it over and he'll throw it out, holding a knife behind his back. But this time Koro-sensei was ready. At Mach 20 speed, he prepares the octopus into some takoyaki, a very delicious snack that I'd recommend trying. He then proclaims to Karma that it is his job to polish him.
An assassin's blade that has become rusty and dull.
He makes a promise to continue to polish him until he's sparkly and new at the end of class. This results in all of Karma's assassination attempts to fail as Koro-sensei keeps an eye on him, doing his hair, painting his nails, and pretty much anything that keeps Karma from moving. Karma started to get impatient and stuck at the end of class. Nagisa tells him that there's no rush and that they'd all come up with a plan together eventually, but Karma wasn't listening. We get a small flashback of Karma with one of the teachers from the main building and tells Nagisa he wanted to kill Koro-sensei himself. Speaking of the octopus, he joins the two outside. Karma asks him if he was a teacher, which Koro-sensei confirms. Karma smiles wickedly, claiming that a teacher should protect his students. Once again, Koro-sensei agrees. With the confirmation, Karma jumps off from the tree he was sitting on and starts falling down the mountain. He claims that if Koro-sensei helps him, he'd shoot and kill him, but if he let him fall to his death, that he'd be dead as a teacher. We get to see a flashback of Karma's as he says, "Your life really does flash before your eyes." We learn that the teacher in the main building promised to support Karma as long as his heart was in the right place. Karma was quickly betrayed after beating up a bully from Class E, and he goes to this teacher to say that he was dead to him. He sees the teacher's face fall into pieces and the skeleton underneath. As his flashback ends, Karma suddenly lands on the sticky web, except it wasn't a web at all, but Koro-sensei's tentacles. It was super sticky, not allowing Karma to move at all. He compliments Karma on his good strategy and attempt, while laughing that Karma can't shoot him. He then lets Karma know that abandoning him is not an option, saying,
"Jump off cliffs anytime you wish. I'll catch you."
Karma scoffs but held a more pleasant smile on his face. He claims that it was hopeless and he wouldn't be able to kill Koro-sensei. At least, not as a teacher. Karma doesn't give up yet, but there was something different in his approach of saying he'll kill Koro-sensei. And with that, Karma had become sparkly clean. So, did any of this catch your attention? If so, please check out the anime or manga. It's awesome and tells a great story with tons of characters to meet. Each character has a unique backstory and a great development/journey. A definite 5 out of 5 octopus for the manga, and a 4 out of 5 for the anime. While both the anime and manga to the series are awesome, I recommend reading the manga first. There's more content in the chapters that the anime just left out. It also has a lot more emotion. Not saying the anime holds no emotion at all, it just highlights the humor a bit more. I guarantee though, whichever you choose, you'll surely enjoy it a lot. Now, to the ongoing war of sub versus dub. Well, I'm here to ease your worries and prevent your household from breaking out into a war. Both the sub and dub are really, really good. So whichever you choose, it's not going to ruin your experience at all, or be like me and watch it in both. That's if you're ready to go down the hardcore path, though. So forget the war and enjoy watching. Thank you for checking out yet another one of our videos. If you want to see a deep dive into any of the characters, my writer has assured me that it is something she'd very much love to do, especially Karma. She likes the bad boys. If you liked today's video, throw us a like or subscribe. It helps us all here on the Nova Blast production team attempt to make this our full-time job. Thanks again, and take care.